Okay, so today is March 13th, and we'll be going over US 30 gold and EU potential trades for today. So today is a heavy news day, given that we recently had news of two banks in the US failing. So that one was Silicon Valley Bank. I forget what the other bank is. So with that, starting with US 30, we have a see. So for this one, for US 30, we have price below both the 200 EMA and the 9 EMA. And then we have so if we change this to the daily, based on what we analyzed last week, we expect US 30 to complete this structure to the downside. So around 29,500, 200 area. So we expect US 30 to complete this structure. So with the news of the banks failing, so we do expect some volatility in the market, most likely to the downside. I know Biden was speaking this morning, so I know in his speech he was probably trying to alleviate any fears of any financial institutions having problems or banks failing, but that's fine. So personally, I'll be looking for gold sells, long-term sells. Any buys will be short term, in my opinion. But since we were scalping, we should be able to catch potential buys. So the reason I'm looking again for US 30 sells is we see here on the daily, we just had a death cross forming, which is when the 9 EMA crossed the 200 to the bottom. So currently, this is the only support US 30 has. So in this demand area that's shaded here. So if US 30 drops here, we can look for potential sells for gold. So gold broke above our weekly bearish high zone. So if you remember, this zone was tested a couple of times. So currently, yesterday when the market opened, it opened with a gap to the upside and closed above the weekly bearish high. And then it ideally got held in this supply zone up here, but then it's breaking up above. So right now, there's nothing stopping gold to go to the 1900 area. So the first sell, I would be looking to sell gold on around 1914 to 1917. But as you can see, these are very small supply zones. So gold can easily push above this. So if gold breaks above this, these are the next areas for gold to reverse. Now, if we're going to have ideally the news that's coming out in the economy about potential banks failing or having liquidity issues, we expect flight of capital to move to ideally safer assets. So gold is ideally considered a hedging asset or a safe asset in times of economic uncertainty. So gold can easily pump up all the way to 2000. So I wouldn't really be looking to sell gold just yet, even at this zone. Maybe at this zone and in the middle of this zone. But currently, due to the economic uncertainty, due to the some financial institutions in the US reporting whether it's failures or liquidity problems, I wouldn't be looking to sell gold. So right now, I'll just stay away from gold. If I see any potential buys for gold, I may take them. But for any sales on gold, I'll be looking in between, so 2070 to 1961. So that's 100 pip. So what's that? 2020. So I would be looking for the first filler sell on gold around here. Let me just make sure what the difference is. All right, 55. All right, so the first gold sell for me would be 2015. So this is the safest gold sell that I would take. And also for this one would be a filler sell. So it would be there. and then stop loss above that supply zone. And I would be looking to ride this for a bigger move. Like, if gold does come up here, personally, I would take a bigger sell at the top of this. So if gold does come to 2070, I would take a bigger sell and go for like 6 pips. So this is one of those trades we're talking about, the trades you can use to pass a challenge in just 3 trades in a month. So for this one, I'll probably take a 5 lot, have like a 60 pip stop loss. So 60, yeah, 60 pips. So this would be 2100, 2130. And then do also a 60 pip take profit. So this would be around 10. So this is one of those trades I would take with a bigger lot size and aiming to make 3% in one trade. So this trade for me would be a filler trade. So for EU, what do we have on EU? So EU, we have the daily bearish high that was broken. So this was tested on Friday. And I think there are people who caught this during the live session. I missed the trade. So EU dropped heavily. So it dropped, what was that? 700. It dropped around 70 pips. So these are, again, one of those trades you can take to pass your challenge real quick. So daily bearish high. So there was no way, again, I would try to catch the sell here, but I did catch some sells yesterday during Asia session, but it was just with like 0.5 lot sizes, so nothing big. So right now we have this supply zone up here, we have this small supply zone, and then we have this big supply zone. Now, the only problem with this big supply zone is that we have a daily bullish zone here. So we have a daily bullish zone up here. So we'll just highlight that. We're not going to highlight the whole of it in order to not make the chart too colorful, but I'll change this to green. All right, so for me, the first EU sell, so this zone, I wouldn't be looking to, so we have this zone right here. So this is an overlapping zone, and you can see price almost rejected to it. So I might test out a filler sell on EU here, but this one definitely use a small lot size because you can see that this zone has been tested and broken before. So I would take this, go for 50 pips, take profit. 235. Let's see.
Je suis en train de me faire passer à côté d'une trade.
And then I will put stop loss above here. And then if this does break, my next test for a sell on EU would be around this zone, 1.07553, stop loss around there. And ideally come to the same zone. So for US 30, so if Biden was speaking again, as I mentioned, he would ideally be trying to let the public know, investors know that, the banks are safe and all of that. So try to avoid any panic. But, it's some of these things you can only hide for so long. So for this, I would be looking for a sell area for US 30. So here we have an hourly bullish low and bullish high. So I'll highlight this in green. So this is another possible buy area for US 30. And you can see this demand zone right here. Price closed above the 9 EMA on the 5-minute, went into that zone and retested the base of that zone and the 9 EMA and shot all the way up.
So if the trend is going up like it is so, and you're looking to buy in that area there, what confirmation do you look for to buy if the trend's already going up?
So for me here, I'm not looking to buy, right? Personally, I'm looking to sell US 30, but if I was buying, this would have been a buy based on our strategies, right? The bottom of this zone, right there. And even for me on this zone, this would have been a pending order if I was looking to buy, not even a market order, because you see price got again attracted to this zone. So for this one, personally, I would have had a pending order. If I was trading during market conditions, I would have waited for a retest. So here again, right, draw this trend line to the upside. Actually, if you're trading market conditions and you're on market execution, you want to go on the 1 minute to get that confirmation, because the 5 minute might take a little while. So you have that lower low. You try to anticipate where the next high low will be. So again, this trend line is a hanging trend line. So this would have been your first trend line, right? So ideally, this would have been your first trend line. You wait for price to close above the 9 EMA and retest the 9 EMA, right? So on the 1 minute, price closed above the 90, and this is only if you're looking for buys. I wasn't looking for any buys on US 30, but if you were, you go up, and you could have traded with the news, because ideally anticipate the president to say good things about banks and say that people shouldn't be worried. I mean, that's fine. So this is one of the candles that we've been trading, a bullish hammer candle, but again, I don't trade them on the 5 minute. But price closed above the 9 EMA with this candle. On this other candle, price was manipulated to the bottom, again, was brought up, closed above the 9 EMA. So we need a candle to retest the 9 EMA and close above. So this next candle came close to the 9 EMA. So you could have entered here on this particular candle, right? You could have entered on this candle right here, taken, what is it? I think we go for 50 pips and then secure set break even at 20 pips, right? But if you wanted a perfect retest of the 9 EMA, ideally the next candle retested the 9 EMA and closed above. So then your buy would have been there. You'd have been in a little bit of drawdown, but then price ideally reversed to the upside. So that's how I would have taken this trade. And if I was looking for buys, if we didn't have all these news about banks and all of that, another confluence with that would be that this is a demand zone. So this would have ideally, personally, I think I would have entered on this candle right here, because you had this candle closing above the 9 EMA. I would have waited for a candle to retest around the 9 EMA and close above. So personally, I would have entered a buy here, because ideally it's in a demand zone. I'm sorry, yeah, it's in a demand zone. Price is ideally has closed above the 9 EMA on the 1 minute. So yeah, that's how personally I would have taken this trade if we didn't have any news. But for me, I'm looking for US 30 to go to the downside. So right now I'm only looking for sells. Yeah, but you can trade this zone if you want. But if you look at, if we go back to the 5 minute, this is the last zone for supply zone, I'm sorry, demand zone or support area for US 30 before US 30 again drops around to 31,200 area. And then you can see we have a daily bearish high and bearish low. So if US 30 comes down here, breaks this support area. So again, remember, daily areas have a higher, to me, whatever a high time frame zone supersedes a low time frame zone. So for me, these zones, when I draw them, I'm either drawing them on the weekly, daily, and weekly, daily, 4 hour, and hourly. So unless this was a weekly zone for me, which I don't think it was, if I go back on the weekly chart, I don't think I saw anything here. Reset view. There's only one zone right there, right? So that's just one, and that's where US 30 bounced from. So I'm looking at this zone right here. There's here, yeah, I don't see anything major, because here price went up, here again price went down. Yeah, so for me, I don't see anything major holding US 30 at that zone. So this zone for me might have been either a 4 hour zone or a 1 hour zone. So if I come back here to the 5 minute and I'm looking for sales on US 30, this here tells me that when price comes down here, I'll box this zone in. Divide it into 3, as we've always done. I don't know what the middle is. I'll have to calculate. Set my first pending filler sell at the top here, my next one right here, and the last one at the bottom. So right now, personally, I am looking for sells. Now, the only time I look for buys at this point is if price comes back up and closes above the 9 EMA. Remember, on Friday, on the hourly, that is. So if we go on the hourly, on Friday, if you guys remember, we're trading these candles right here, right? And then we had anticipated US 30 to drop to the bottom, right? And then we had this candle that almost closed below the 9 EMA, and then no, actually, I think it was this one, right? And then it reversed all the way to the top. But later on, I think at 11 or noon, we had this candle that went all the way up, reversed, closed below the 9 EMA or around the 9 EMA. Or again, if you don't want to consider this a closure below the 9 EMA, you can wait for this one, right? A better confirmation, a strong hourly candle, bearish candle, closed below the 9 EMA, retested around the 9 EMA and dropped all the way to the bottom. So it's the same thing I'm looking for today. So right here, we have a candle close above the 9 EMA on the hourly. But remember, now for me to even look for buys right now, this hourly candle has to close. So this candle will close at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now that is what's going to tell me whether to look for buys or not. Now right here, you can have a short-term buy, right? As this candle is playing around, because I anticipate this candle to play around 32.71. And I don't know, maybe the top of this candle, 31.901. So ideally a 200 point play on before the candle chooses a direction. Now, if you want to look for a buy, again, you have an hourly bullish low. So let's see if we can find any potential buy. But the worst thing about this is that for me, I see this as a trap. I see this ideally as a trap, trying to trap buyers before now they reverse price all the way to the bottom. So if you get into any buys at this zone, ideally make sure you're using proper risk management and proper lot sizing. So let's see if we can find any buy. So for me personally, I'll come here, use a trend line, draw this way. That's the 5 minute. Go to the 1 minute since price is around a potential buy area. So I'll get rid of this and use the next lower low, connect it to the next higher high. So the next area that price can, so for our entries, it's either a retest of a structure. So here we have a higher high. So either retest of this higher high, so closure above retests of the higher high, or closure above the 9 EMA and retest of the 9 EMA and then swing up. But again, you can see prices ideally closing above, retesting, closing below. So it's playing around that zone. Or closure above the 9 EMA, retest of the trend line and swing up. So ideally, this potential buy would be here. And to me, I still consider this a risky trade. So I wouldn't go in with a heavier lot size. So again, do a 50-point stop loss. So my new trades on US 30, I'm doing either 45-point or 50-point stop loss. So ideally, I'm still risking the same, but what I've done, I've started lowering my lot sizes. It should be 45. And then do a 50. So this would be 45-ish. Also, the reason I'm saying this is risky is that I've seen such zones. So you can see this is an hourly bullish high and bullish low. So I've seen such zones, a bullish zone acting as a bearish zone. So I've seen in the past, especially during manipulation periods, price touching like this bullish high and then dropping all the way back down for the rest of the day or 2 days. So for this particular trade, so closure above, so this would be the first candle on the 1 minute that's closing above the 9 EMA. So to get into this buy, I need the next candle to retest the structure, because that's the first thing that's available. So the trend line is all the way up here. So ideally you can wait for the trend line to be retested, but that will take a couple of maybe the next 10 minutes. So the nearest thing we have for our entry is retest of this structure. Now,
Thought it was a sell on US 30.
yeah, but you're asking me about buys, right?
Oh yeah, you're still good. Okay, yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you're right. I was just curious, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just showing like how you can enter a buy, but I did say for this buy, do not use a big lot size.
I gotcha.
Now, for any sells, I do have a trend line, and this is the next thing. I'll show you guys. All right, so if you're looking for a reversal for a sell, all right, just monitor this. I'm not gonna be taking this buy, so just monitor this on your own accounts. Let me share something else with you guys. New share. What's this? Okay. Can you guys see this screen that I'm sharing, the snipping tool? Yeah, I'm guessing you guys can see it, right?
Yes, we can see it.
All right, perfect. So this is the reason I tell you guys, draw your trend lines on the MT4. I don't like drawing them on TradingView because it just makes my chart too colorful. So draw your trend lines on MT4 and do not delete them. So for me here, I only focus on the trend line that's closest to price. So you can see most of these trend lines, I drew them like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and you can see that they've been holding. So for example, this trend line has been holding here, here. These trend lines were holding here. This trend line is holding here and here. Again, these are not trend lines I drew today. Trend line holding here, trend lines holding here, trend lines holding here. Now, how personally I trade this, if I get like, for example, and these are the trend lines. So I actually entered, this was ideally during London, and you can see they retest perfectly. So this is one way I use these trend lines, right? So like personally, I woke up today during London. I came to the screen and I was like, oh, this trend line that I drew a while back, it got retested, price closed below. I entered the sell around, I was ideally a little late, but I still made money. So it was, I did like 30 points. So I did a 50 lot, and I did 30 points take profit. So I made like 1,500 on this 2 candles, on this 1 candle. Now, the other way I use these trend lines is let me show you guys. The other way I use these trend lines, right? So if I get into a, what is that? If I get into a sell, let's say I get into a sell here, and then I get stopped out by this move up, and then I know that I'm looking, like my analysis shows me that US 30 will be selling. What will I do? Instead of FOMOing and trying to sell again, maybe up here, I would have made money, right? But who knows if price would have gone all the way up. So I'm just patient. I see this candle break my trend line. I see this retest of my trend line and closure below. I see this other retest of the trend line and closure below with a bearish candle. I'm going to enter a sell there and ride this even longer, right? And probably ride it to my next trend area. So maybe take profit here if I really want to ride it longer, right? What's another one? If I'm looking for a buy, so like the other day when especially if you're using our reversal strategy where we try to catch the reversal. So like last week at what was that? One of our filler trades for US 30 got stopped out. So let's say we got stopped out where? Let's say we get stopped out here maybe. All right. We just wait for price to keep dipping and dipping. And then we wait for a trend line, for price to be around the trend line. So price to be around the trend line and price to close above the 9 EMA on a 5 minute, right? Because if we're trying to catch a reversal and price keeps going down, then we know, oh, this is a bearish market. So ideally, based on our strategy, we wait for price to close above the 9 EMA on the 5 minute, or we wait for like 2 bullish candles. So that's if we're trying to catch a buy. So if you entered, let's say here, of course you would have, so first of all, you wouldn't have gotten an entry here because even while using the trend lines, you want price to reject above your trend line. So that's how you know that that's a valid, ideally, area of a trend line. So you want rejection in your trend line area. So if you're waiting to enter here, you couldn't have entered here because the 5 minute candle closed below the trend line and it closed as a strong 5 minute candle. So again, you just be patient. So these are trend lines you drew like 2-3 weeks ago. You just be patient. You wait for what happens when price reaches this trend line area. So what happened when price came here? So you had this candle starting to make wicks, and then you had this candle try to break 2 of your trend lines and then closed above. So here we know there's buyers sitting here. What do? You enter your next buy here. And why are you entering? Because this candle tried to break your trend line, but then it did not, rejected all the way to the top. You enter your buy here. And this moves, to be honest, they go for like 50 points or like 100 points, right? So this particular move right here went from 31,725 to 31,853. That is 120 point candle. So with 10 lots right there, you're making 1,200. With 50 lots, you're making 5 grand. So personally, that's how I use trend lines, either to recover a trade or to get confirmation. Again, here, if you're looking for sales, look at this, price tries to close above, no, it gets rejected to the bottom, and then we have that inverted. So we've only been getting bullish hammer candles, but now this is the opposite of a bullish hammer candle, right? Buyers tried to close price above, and then sellers rejected and pushed price all the way down and close as a bearish hammer candle inverted, whatever they call that. And then you enter your sell again here. You can take your profit at the next trend line, right? So yeah, so draw these trend lines on your MT4s, or if you can stomach having a lot of lines on your trading view, go ahead and do that. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you guys the importance of, and you can see how for me, price has respected all these trend lines like perfectly. And I know I've shown you guys how to draw trend lines. Let me go back to trading view and see if there's anything. But I see the US 30 went all the way up. So stop share. Let me share this. All right. And here we go, right? Here's that candle we were talking about, bullish hammer candle. So for these bullish hammer candles, if you're taking those trades, again, don't go, especially if right now we're expecting US 30 to go down, don't take that trade for like 50 points. Just take a trade for like 20 points. So this bullish hammer candle, and the other day I was actually thinking about it, right? Like, what's a bullish hammer candle? So how do you, because some of these candles have like a 20 point, the wick is like 20 points. So for me, I consider like a bullish hammer candle or a bearish hammer candle to be, the wick should be about 40 points to 50 points. So for this wick, it's like, just call it 32,000, and this is 32,940. So the wick itself is 60 points, right? If I'm not wrong, 32. Yep, the wick itself is 60 points. So definitely I do consider this a hammer candle, and I would have taken a buy here. So I'm in no rush to take trades today because ideally I made my goal. And then again, how do we deal with these candles? You enter a trade, take profit for these candles. If you still want to go for 50 points, well and good. But remember, if you're 20 points in profit, set break even. So this trade again would have hit take profit. And then this here is that trade we were waiting on. So you had, just a second, closure above on the 1 minute, came, retested, it was close enough, retested the structure, closed above. You had this small candle right here, try to close below the 9 EMA and try to close below the structure. and then it closes a bullish candle. So this is that one trade that we're looking for today. So I don't know if price went down at first or went all the way up. I don't know. I don't know if either of you guys took this trade. But I guess price started to the downside. Yeah, so here, if I'm looking for a sell on US 30, I want to see a retest of this trend line to the bottom for me to sell US 30. So that's how I'll enter a sell, and this sell I can write it down. Now for me, for this sell, since we still have an hourly bullish high and bullish low, I will put my stop loss. And again, for me, this is not yet too big of a trade because I would rather wait all the way till about 1050 or 1055 because this candle can always come all the way up. So I want to see a retest of the trend line, stop loss above the high, and this ideally is a bigger trade or longer trade. I would try to ride it to the bottom of this demand zone.
So for the US 30 sell, you're looking to sell around 32,320?
No. The 32,015. So ideally, whenever the trend line will be retested.
Oh, okay. Because I just see you have all like the bearish markups up there with the red box.
Yeah, I mean, ideally this would be the best place, but I don't know if US 30 is gonna. So we do have an hourly bearish high or bearish low. So ideally, yes, this would be the best place to come. But given the market conditions, I don't see anything that's pushing US 30 up right now. And I think Biden already stopped speaking. So right now, price is ideally going where it's supposed to go, which is the bottom. Now, I do have a trend line here to the bottom on my MT4. See, it's the 5-minute. Ideally, this trend line. I don't know where it's. I know it's touching this. It's touching this lower low. So it's around there. It's coming from somewhere else here. I don't know. Again, I do this on my MT4s, but it looks like I drew it a couple of weeks ago. So again, this would be another sell for me, a break below this trend line and closure below. And the MT4 chart for me is different from TradingView. So I'll just try and put this how it shows up on my MT4. Yeah, I think on my MT4 it's around there. All right, now again, here's where we ask ourselves, where's the most optimum area to sell? So yes, definitely a break and retest of this trend line is a sell, but where's the best place to sell US 30? So this is a good place to sell, a break and retest of these trend lines. But the next best area, retest of the 9 EMA, the next best area, retest of the trend line. Now here's where I go to the 5-minute. So on the 5-minute, I'll delete this and try to get another trend line. And we can see on the 5-minute, before price comes all the way here, right? So that's why you have to start on the 5-minute and see how far price is. So undo that, go back to point of entry. But yeah, this would be a good entry with a small lot size, because that's what I have on my MT4. But again, for me, I'm looking for the best place to sell. So this would be 933. So I want something that I'll have stop loss above this zone at the very least. Okay, so this is a sell at the break and closure. Let me see my MT4. All right, so on my bad. This is on the 1-minute. This needs to close below on the 5-minute, my bad. All right. So remember, break and closure below here, retest of the 9 EMA, and then we had that trend line going. So let me bring it back. All right. So this is the best place to sell US30, retest of the trend line. Now this is the next best area to sell it at the 9 EMA, retest of the 9 EMA. So we have to keep in mind, we have this trend line here. We want price to close below this trend line on the 5 minutes, right? And you can see that rejection. So we want price to close below and reject and retest the 5 minute, that trend line. And price already dipped, so. Yeah, so this retest of the 9 EMA, and then it came back below. So this would have been that trade. So remember, this was the first place to trade, to enter the sell. Again, I don't think it's an optimum place to sell. You have this retest and closure below the 9 EMA. So this should have been the next best sell, which is running. The best place to sell is retest of this trend line. So, but I don't think price might come up there anytime soon. So yeah, so that should be the trade. If it retests this trend line and closes below this trend line on the 1 minute, that's another good sell for US30. But I'm not in any of those trades, but if you're in any of those trades, you should be in profit. So whether you entered here, whether you entered on the retests and closure below the 9 EMA on the 1 minute, either way, you should be in profit for either of those trades. And those trades are up. If you entered this trade, you are up 85. So that trade dropped 50 points, right? So our take profit is ideally 50 points. But remember, you said break even when you're 20 points in profit. So this trade ideally would have hit take profit. Let me revert to my 50-50. Yeah, so again, for me today, I'm in no hurry to enter any trades. But again, my analysis is a sell for US30, so just keep that in mind. It should be 940. Or I can do this. Right, so if you entered on this one, what was that? If you entered on this one, you'd have come straight close to stop loss if you entered with 50 points stop loss and 50 points take profit, but you would have hit TP if you entered on the retests of the 9 EMA on the 1 minute. So price retested the 9 EMA, closed below the 9 EMA. So this would have been that entry, and this one went straight to profit. So for either of those trades, you would have been in profit for both trades, either for 50 points or for 20 points. Now, if price closes below, so let's go to the 5 minute and see. All right, price closed below the 5 minute, perfect. And this is the same trend line I have on my MT4. So we need to see how this 5 minute candle is gonna close for any potential sell continuations. I don't know if anybody caught any of those two sells, but for me, I haven't caught anything because I already made my target for the day. Yeah, so I don't see gold. So gold, by the time gold is getting up here, it might be maybe during CPI tomorrow. EU, all right, if anybody set a pending sell limit on EU, you're in profit. So if you set a pending sell limit at this supply zone right here, 1.0230, you should be in profit. So this candle went all the way up. It's rejecting 230. Should be in profit like 10 pips. Gold, nothing. Yeah, US30. So for me, I need this 5 minute candle to close and see how it closes.
If it closes below, are you taking a bigger sell?
Yes, I would take a bigger sell. Let me show you guys. So this is what I have here. Stop share. I'm doing reshare. right? So you guys can see what I have. So that's my MT4 right there. So you can see how that trend, so that's the trend line I drew for you guys. So I'm just hoping that, you know, as we go, you guys just learn how to draw this so that I don't have to take time off of the session to show you guys like this. So you can see how it's respecting that trend line right there. Let me go back to sharing the other screen. Okay, so here, the best place to sell is retest of the trend line. You can get in on, ideally on impulse. Have your stop loss above. That's if you want, right? The best one is to wait for a retest and closure below. So you want a perfect retest and closure below, but you can definitely get in on impulse. So for this one, let's drop to the 1 minute and see what's going on there. And then you can see even on the 1 minute, we have a death cross that's coming in. So the 9 EMA crossing the 200 EMA to the bottom. So ideally, I want to see how the 5 minute closes. All right, so the 5 minute close below. So you want that retests and closure above. So even on the 5 minute, your stop loss would be above the 9 EMA. All right, so that was a near retest. I don't know. I missed that one. So I need like a perfect retest. And this candle's definitely have volume, right? Because this candle is ideally moving like 50 points. So that's something with US 30, because normally this candles normally move 10 or 20 points. So right now you're having candles moving 50, 60 points. So you definitely have a lot of volatility. So I want to see another retest. Okay. See if I can use my phone, because every time I try to get in this trades, my MT4 freezes. All right. So you had that perfect retest of the trend line. Wow, just how do I mess that up? How do I hit buy instead of sell? This is funny. Let me change that back. All right. So let me close my buy because I hit buy accidentally. So I close my buy. I'm in the sell with 25 lots. I'm up, keep going up. I'm up 20 pips. So right now you should be at break even unless you want to go for the whole 50 pips. So right now the trade should be break even for this trade. And there you go. So almost 50 pips. I'm trading on my phone because my MT4. There you go. So you should be hit profit for 50 points. And that's how you catch those trades. Now, again, remember, we're still expecting like this to drop. So you can keep holding. And if you're still in, I would say secure half and leave a runner. But for me, I need a good sell zone for US 30. But yeah, that was that trade hit full TP. So we had that's the only trade I took on the live. We had another
How did
trade.
you draw that trend line again?
I'm sorry, what this one?
Just a quick recap. I missed that one.
So I'm basing it off of my MT. Let me zoom out of my MT4.
Oh, okay, MT4.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
yeah. Let me if I show you guys how my MT4 looks, but you know, let me just show you so that you guys understand. It's not about how it looks. Let me just share this with you guys. Let me crop this.
Is that the one you had drawn a while ago?
Yes. So let me,
Okay, I gotcha.
yeah. Let me share this with you guys. Yeah, but I cannot honestly, I prefer this one, like this strategy right here. So you guys can see the snipping tool, right? So this is how it looks, but I had to zoom out, right? But this is not how my chart looks, because if I zoom in, this is the only zone that's shown on my chart, right? So I'm only watching like this zone. So I only did this to zoom out and show you guys how it looks, right? So for me, again, I do not delete any of this. So what happens if price ever comes up here? When price ever comes up here, right now I can't see this trend line when I'm trading because I've zoomed in to where price is right now. So I can't see any of this. I can't see any of this trend lines up here. I can't see this, right? So for me, it doesn't matter that I don't delete them, right? Now this trend line that we just traded right here. So this is the trend line we traded, right? Let's see how far back I drew it. So this is the trend line. I drew it on 10th March. Is that 10th March? Yes, so that was 3 days ago.
Do you draw all your trend lines on like any time frame, or is it always
I
5 minute?
I draw them on the 5 minute because for me I'm a 5 minute trader, but they should hold. As you guys have seen, when we draw trend lines on the 1 minute, they normally hold on the 5 minute. I haven't tested that on MT4, but personally, I draw them on the 5 minute, right? So here you can see why I drew, for example, these two trend lines, right, to the top. So respected that all the way up here, had that respect and switch to the bottom. Same thing to this one, right? For this one, why did I draw it? The one we just traded. It respected here, 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 and now it's respecting there. So yeah. Let me go back to sharing. So what am I
So
trying?
now that if it closes above this trend line again on the 5 minute and then closes below, would you take another sell?
Right now, honestly, if I've met my daily target, I wouldn't. If I want to trade this, like for me to take a very nice sell, like I want a bearish area right here. And as you guys can see, right, this bullish zone that I told you, remember when price was around here, I told you guys, I've seen price come to a bullish zone, and that bullish zone acts as a bearish zone. So there's definitely a bearish order block here somewhere. So this was a good place to sell if you're looking for sales. I haven't really tested. While back testing, I've seen that happen. Like seen bullish zones turn to bearish zones turn to bullish zones. But for me, would I sell again? Honestly, no, because the only confluence I have is a trend line. And sure, my trend line has held for 3 or 4 days. But that trend line has gotten tested like 4 times, so price can easily. So remember, the optimum place to sell for me is a retest of this trend line that's all the way up here, right? Because we had a retest of the 9 EMA, which gave us straight profit. We had a retest of the trend line, which gave us 2 trades into profit, one, and that one we just took. And then remember, the last confluence is a structural area. So we have this higher high zone right here. So this might be the next sell, which might align with the retest of the trend line. And you can see, right? That's why I wouldn't have sold there again. So yeah, so for me, this would be a perfect area. And if you look at Steven's, so Steven sent an analysis in our Discord today. So this is our Discord. If you go to Forex Majors, no, that wasn't it. That was on indices. He had this analysis. So he's ideally looking for price to come between what, 33,000 to 32,000. So that's 1,000 point area. So ideally, if you're trading 1,000 point area, look for the middle of it. So the middle of this area would be 32,500-ish area. So let's see how, but ideally his analysis shows the same analysis that we've gone through, like US 30 coming back down to 29,000. And normally, for those of you who know, I like when my analysis lines up with Steven's. So let's see what's around 32,500. So personally, I don't have any sell for 32,500, but you know, who's to say that I don't have any trend lines? So you guys have seen how many trend lines I have on my chart. So, and this is one of them. So this might be a sell confluence for me, but around that zone in the middle, personally, I don't have any markups for now. But remember that these markups, these hourly markups, 4-hour markups, they change every day. So who's to say in 3 or 4 days, if US 30 does decide to come back up here, we won't have a 4-hour bearish or hourly bearish high or low here, right? Yeah, but for me, this zone for today, I do not have any markup, but if US 30 is to come back up here today or tomorrow, we should have 30-minute, 1 hour, and maybe 4-hour zones in here. But I do have a supply zone between 32,951 and 32,751. So which is still in the same zone that Steven has marked up in his chart. Okay, so we've got like 3 trades. Let's see, EU. Look at that. So EU went into profit, no drawdown, tapped in, went straight into profit. So this was 72.30, went straight into profit. What is that? 25 pips, right? So with a one lot, you would have made 250 at the bottom or at the very extent of this candle. And for these trades, for filler trades personally, I try to make like $500. So for me, that's why this is 500 points, or I'm sorry, 50 pips, take profit. But for such a trade, if you want to set break even, use the same strategy we use, set break even after 20 pips. So this trade ideally should be 20 pips. But for me, I like how, let me undo that. I like how price literally tapped us in the area that we marked up. So remember, this is a small supply zone I had in here. So this is a overlap of some supply zones. I remember marking this up this morning. So you see, we were tapped in literally exactly to the pip, and price reversed all the way back down. So long as price didn't jump up here, I'm still confident of this trade reversing to the downside. We have another supply zone up here. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody caught this EU sell. Gold, again, nothing really for gold. We have gold approaching this supply zone, but I did say this is a small area, 1914 to 1918. So that's a 40 pip zone, and gold can just blow through that easily. For US 30, I'll just delete this. Again, I don't like having trend lines on TradingView. They confuse me and they just make the charts look. So when I trade, I have TradingView on my left and I have MT4 on my right. Let's see, for any cells. Now here is where, again, come in here and draw your draw your trend line to the bottom. So come in here, draw this. Again, this is a hanging trend line, but we're anticipating that this is gonna be the next lower high, right? So that's why we call this a hanging trend line, because it's not yet established. How a trend line is established, again, remember you always draw a trend line from an established zone. So an established higher high, lower low, whatnot, right? So that's why your trend line should always start. So I can't draw a trend line from here to somewhere, I don't know, or let me give this other example. I can draw a trend line from here to here. It might be a valid trend line, but you want the beginning of the trend line to be an established lower low or higher high or whatnot. So since here we have a established higher high and we're looking for sells, I'll draw that trend line there. Come to the 1 minute, it should still be the same, right? We have this, I might have to adjust this. Oh, because the 5 minute was here. So here I'll have to adjust this. And then I do this on the 1 minute. Just redo it. So again, I'm expecting this to be a lower high. Now, if you're looking for a sell on US 30, if this is to be established as a lower high and it's supposed to hold, where would you enter a sell? On the retest of the trend line, because if that holds and you're looking for sells, then you're looking for this area to hold and not get broken, and then for price to come back down. So if you're looking for any sells, any other sells on US 30, I would be looking for a retest. So ideally you want a retest and closure below the trend line. Sometimes if I'm recovering a trade, I will sell on impulse, right? So if for me a trade had hit stop loss and I'm looking to recover my loss, that's the only time I would enter on impulse. That's one of the only times I would enter on impulse at the trend line. So let's see. So for you guys, if we've already won 3 trades and you want to risk some of your profits, sure, you can enter on impulse. But I recommend wait for closure below so wait for that retest, which you've seen, it's near the trend line, so that's perfect. And wait for closure below. But again, I would prefer a candle to exactly touch the trend line. And just to remember the trend line I'd shown you guys, this candle right here is rejecting that trend line to the bottom. So we have that candle, we have that trend line I'd drawn for you guys earlier. So it's coming somewhere here. So it's fine. Again, personally, I know some of you might have entered, but personally, I want a perfect test of the trend line. And there you go. So we just had this established as a lower high, right? As we said, you're anticipating that area to hold as a lower high. Yeah, so for you guys, if we've already won like 3 trades, if you entered 3 trades, or if you just entered the sale that I took and won that with me, and you want to risk your profit, just at the very least, wait for a perfect retest of the trend line. I know the difference is not that much. The difference between these areas and the trend line is like 4 points. So that's not too much. But normally here's what happens, right? Price will try to break above the trend line and come back down. So don't worry if you see like price is leaving you. And so beginning today, we'll be recording our the Zoom session. So I already started recording this and I'll be posting it on YouTube. I have the Google Workspace set up, so I'll be sending you guys a Google form so that you can share with me your Gmail emails so that I can share the workspace with you and you guys can access the live sessions. And I'll also be recording strategies, right? Like how to draw these trend lines, how to enter trades. I'll also be recording that and posting it up on YouTube and the workspace. So for me, again, like I've already made my money today. I have no, I don't want to FOMO. The other place to enter, retest of the 9 EMA, but that's ideally that train has left the station. But I don't know if anybody caught any of this, like this trade from the top. Personally, I did not. The only trade I caught was that one sell we had caught earlier down here. And now price is around that trend line. So let me see if I can redraw it for you guys. I have to go to keep forgetting I'm in the 1 minute. This trend line is going something like this. Yes. So that's the trend line on the 5 minute. And you can see that these two trend lines, both on the 5 minute, they're squeezing, right? So when price comes in here, and based on our analysis, I expect price to shoot down or to squeeze down. Now, if this right here was a fake out and still I'm expecting price to shoot down, and we can see that on the hourly, this hourly candle is more than likely going to close below the 9 EMA. But it's still again, it's still too early because we have 17 minutes. So this candle can close as a bullish hammer candle. So it's still too early to say, but for now, this is good for sales, right? Price is ideally being held below the 9 EMA. And there you go for that retest coming up. Now, the other thing, this is a 5-minute, and you see this is forming a bullish hammer candle. So even on this retest on the 1 minute, I don't think I would want to be selling. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be selling. And there you go. Went up, no retest, broke above, but on the 5-minute, that's why I just stay on the 5-minute. This might be, since we've been trading these candles, let me see how this candle closes. If it closes as a bullish hammer candle, and this is a 5-minute, 928, I like that wick. So I'll be going in for a buy. Again, I'm only buying because of the candle here. So if you're buying, just use a small, so stop loss should be below the low of this candle. But you have to wait for that candle to close. Wait. All right, I entered, let me put the markup. There you go. I am, oh no, it should be a buy. Why do I keep using long position? So for me, for this trade, stop loss below the low of that candle. Again, since I'm expecting a sell. So for this one, I'll go for 20 pips. I won't go for the whole 50 pips. If you want, sure, you can do that. But I would advise for such trades, since we are counter, in my opinion, we are counter trending, or we are going against the trend. So if you're 20 pips in profit or 20 points in profit, which I think this already hit, it went up 56, yeah, 56 to 76. You should have been out. So again, if you're still in, right now it's 20 points in profit. Think of setting break even for this trade. But I'm going to be adventurous today and try to go for the whole 50 points. So if you feel like being adventurous like me, just manage your risk. Just know that the trend, we're expecting US 30 to go down. The only reason we're in this trade is because this is a bullish hammer candle. And I know this candle looks red, but I've changed how my candles look. So I can tell it's a bullish hammer candle because it has green on the outside. So I've changed my candles to look like the trend, if that makes sense. So you can see all my candles are red. The last time I had a green candle was up here. So for me, this tells me that the trend is bearish. So that's why you'll see all my candles here are red, but the outline of it is green. So that's how I can tell that's a bullish hammer candle. So again, 20 points, that's take profit. For me, I'm being adventurous. So I'm trying to catch the whole 50 points. So personally, I only expect myself to be in this trade and anybody, and I like that retest of that trend line. So if this trade hits stop loss, again, remember, that's just, I was expecting just me to have held on, because personally, I did not set break even after 20 points. And there you go, full TP on that trade. Let me close that out now. And you can see that manipulation up there. Look at that. All right. So that is what, 1, 2, 3, 4 trades, back-to-back wins. Where is this candle going? So that candle is going up. So ideally for today, if you use the standard lot size, you would have been up, I don't know, probably 2,000. 2,000. If you use the 20 lot, since every trade has hit 50 points, take profit. If you use the 20 lot, you should be up, I think, about 2,000 or 2,500. If you use the 10 lot, you should be up like 1,500 for all those trades, if you took all those trades. And there's definitely a lot of, fighting or manipulation here. So you can see here, this 200 EMA is the one that's holding price back from shooting up.
Would you ever change that trend line?
Would I have a what? Would I have a change?
Change the trend line?
No, I wouldn't change this trend. I mean, no. So this trend line, and so I got a confirmation here. I got a confirmation on the 1 minute that this was a lower high, and then I have this confirmation that the trend line, so price rejected exactly at the trend line and shot up. So no, this trend line I wouldn't change it. So just leave it there. All right, look good. Yep. So that's why, it's important to have this zones at all times. So if you don't have any of this markups, so you see like gold today, we don't have any markups for gold, or the markups we have are below where prices, like literally all our markups are below where prices. So trading in this zone and trying to catch, say, sells, I mean, this is literally just gambling, right? So if you really, so let me go again this way, right? So when we started the live session, let me see if I can see where that was. So when we started the live session, that was about what, an hour-ish ago. So when we started the live session, we said that gold ideally should go up because of the financial uncertainty for the banking institutions, right? Because gold is ideally a safe haven. So even though it's pegged against the US dollar, sometimes during uncertain times or uncertainty in the market, and investors need to take their money out and put it in a safe space or safe place, they will ideally resort to metals, crypto, and assets like those that are ideally, quote unquote, recession proof or inflation proof. So gold here for this entry, even before, I know this candle, so this is the 30-minute chart, right? So an hour before. So if you're analyzing that ideally 2 hours ago or 3 hours ago, and you saw this, let me go to the 5 minutes since that's where we trade. I don't even look at the 30-minute. So on the 5 minute, we saw close, okay, so we had this high established. Price came back down, went up, started trending to the upside. So personally, right here, I can see a trend line automatically for me. I can see a trend line up there. Trended up. And then ideally, if you want to go based on that assumption, you want for price to go away from this supply zone. So price goes down, retraces up, closes above this higher high, right? It's the first time price has done that. Closes above, comes to a near retest. So this is ideally one of the entries, retest of the 9 EMA. So that's the first entry right there for a buy. The other entry would be a retest of the higher high. So again, this is the first, this would have been the first buy, retest of the 9 EMA and closure above. So this buy right here, go for however many pips. And this is the other thing, right? If ideally do what normal people, not normal people, I don't want to put it that way, do what retail traders would do, right? If a retail trader who doesn't know all these strategies, and then they keep seeing ideally gold going all the way up, right? So there of them, most of them, or a good number of them, and I used to be one of them, of the mentality that, oh, this is so, because if you go on the hourly chart here on my right, somebody can say gold is so overextended, it has to come down. And then you start selling. And then every time you sell, you get stopped out, right? And then peg that with news, right? And then you're like, okay, if we're about to have some uncertainty in the market financial wise with banks and all of that, which is what happened in 2008. Actually, in 2008, if I remember correctly, it started with one small bank somewhere in Europe before it came to like the US and all of that. So it started with one small bank. I forgot which country that bank was in, but it started ideally what's happening now before the whole financial meltdown. So you're like, okay, it's overextended, that's fine, right? And then you come down to the news, you're like, gold is a safe asset. So regardless if it's overextended, I know that probably a lot of people are trying to catch the top. You come in, you see this gap right here? Perfect, right? It shows that there's some buyers right here. So you just wait. This is established as a higher high. You know there's a supply zone right here. Wait for price to move away from this supply zone right here. And ideally, even in this supply zone, you just have 15-minute bearish highs and bearish lows. Again, we don't trade those by themselves. And then you just wait for price to close above this higher high. So the first entry, one of our entries, retest of the 9 EMA and closure above. There you go, right? The next best entry, even if you want to do this for 100 pips, right? Again, a 5 lot here would have made you 5 grand easy, right? In less than, I don't know how many minutes. A 5 lot here would have made you 5 grand. Even though, so our stop loss on gold is normally 50 pips. So 1890. So this is perfect, right? You put your stop loss around there so that if price comes back down here, you're like, maybe this supply zone will just take price down. But then you see this high, lower high, high, low, high, low, high, low. Perfect. You make your 5 grand there. This is again another perfect trade to pass your challenge with. But this particular trade would need a lot of patience. And again, we don't have a lot of confluences. We don't have daily markups. Here, you're just using fundamentals and the news of the day. Okay, that's the first trade you could have taken. The next trade you could have taken, or the other trade, again, our trades are either based off of the 9 EMA structure or trend line. So if you had drawn a trend line here, price ideally still wouldn't have tapped you in because your trend line is coming from a lower low to a high low. This got established as a high low. So ideally, remember, you can skip the second point of interest. So go to the third point of interest. If you have like a steep trend, so you don't have to have the first and second one tapped in. So again, here, price wouldn't have tapped you in at the trend line. Okay, that's perfect. That's, nothing wrong with that. The next area for price to tap you in is retest of a structural area. So it would be a retest of this high that was broken. Remember when it got broken to the upside, it never got retested at any given time. So you have this, it got retested on this 5. So price closed below the 9 EMA on the 5-minute. Price retested that structure on the 5-minute and shot all the way up and closed above the 9 EMA on the 5-minute. There's your other trade. No drawdown trade, straight into profit. Let's see. So EU is pushing up. So again, if you didn't set this trade in break even at 20 pips, right now, again, you should be around break even. But remember, this is a filler trade. You shouldn't have gone in with a bigger trade. Even though you did, you should have made your money down here and cashed out. So which was this trade? Okay. Oh, perfect. Let me see that trade. Oh, okay. So for that trade, I'm up 35, what is that? 50. For that trade right there, I'm up because I was holding that trade. What is that? 25, 69. I was up about 150 points for that trade right there. All right, so it's almost 11 a.m. So we had all wins in the live session today. So if anybody has any question, just go ahead and ask right now because we stopped trading at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We had, what was that? 1, 2. So we had 2 official trades that I took. We had 2 other trades that I had marked up. I don't know if anybody took them. So I think we had either 4 or 5 trades today on the live session. All of them were wins. And today, ideally, everybody should be up. The other thing I want to let you guys know, so even though it's a news day, even though it's a Friday, these markups do not let go of these markups. Do not let go of these trend lines. I hear a lot of, and I used to be that way too, right? People saying, "Oh, Fridays are not good days for trading." So last Friday, if you guys remember, we had like, what is that, 5 wins or 3 wins? So we just followed our strategies and caught like profit on all our trades. I know that's not going to happen every Friday, but I just want to let you guys know, like, just do your markups. Be careful, of course, on Mondays and Fridays and news days. But so long as you have these strategies and you know that if a trade meets your strategies and meets your markups, just hop in the trade. Don't worry whether it's Friday, whether it's Monday. You're not gonna win every day. And of course, even here, we don't win every day. But Friday we had like 4 wins. Today we have another 4 or 5 wins. But the only reason we entered these trades is that it made sense for us. So for example, this bullish hammer candle, we've traded it. I think this should be the 6th time now since we started doing this live sessions like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And every time we've taken this candle, it's won, right? It's ideally straight take profit. So just learn these strategies, and just ask questions whenever you guys need to. Does anybody have any question? If not, I'll see you guys here tomorrow. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and ask.
Yeah, I just had a question on gold.
Mhm.
So it's in that heavy uptrend. Would you be able to draw a trend line from that first higher low and just match all those higher lows, and then obviously with it coming to a selling area there, if it
Uh,
breaks that trend line?
you mean like this high low?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's what, okay, yeah, yeah, I see what you mean. So that's what one way you can do, right? Because when we draw it this way, it's still a hanging trend line, but it's not meeting anything, right? And then we keep moving it. Uh, we keep moving it to the second one, right? Now we can move it to the third and fourth, but it's breaking above candles, right? You don't want this, right? Ideally, you don't want this. So yes, you can, instead of doing it there, if you see that it's breaking to the top of candles, do it. So match the second high low right there. Now this is how I'll draw it. Yeah, but this is a steep one. This is in price. I don't see price stopping the up. Unfortunately, we didn't have any potential setups for us to buy other than the news or trading news. But some of these entries again, I think once we did the back test, we saw that the entry was ideally 2 hours or 3 hours ago, and we weren't live at that point. So yeah, just keep this in mind in future when you have heavy news like this. And I don't mean like CPI or NFP. When you have war, when you have uncertainty in the market, like last year, if you guys I remember I was trading gold when the Ukraine war was starting, and gold was just spiking up, and unfortunately my normal retail self was just trying to sell and I got burnt on gold. But yeah, once you hear like some of this news in the market about wars, about banks collapsing, ideally find an entry on gold. Don't care about how overextended it is. Find a perfect entry, wait for the strategy to align and enter, and you'll definitely make a lot of money. But
so that wouldn't be a good sell then
no,
with
don't
that
look
trend
for,
line.
yeah, do not. If you have to sell gold, wait for 1918 at the very, I wouldn't even say wait for the bottom or the middle. Wait for 1918 or 1918 zone to sell. But then if it breaks that zone, that's why I have my my perfect
Right.
sell zone. So I have this other supply zone up here. Again, it's still a small zone, but my perfect sell zone is 2015 on gold. And I do see gold going there. So and again, see, if we look at structure, so remember, price always completes structure, right? And that's the same thing we're doing for US 30. We want US 30 to complete, or not we expect US 30 to complete that structure, right? If we look at gold, gold did not attempt to complete this structure to the bottom. So where's gold going? Now, this is the next area right here. If gold breaks that, sure, we have this zone. Actually, I might change my sell to gold to this supply zone right here. This zone between 1958 and 1940, because ideally that's when gold will complete the structure. Because here, That is the last saving grace for gold for a long time. Okay, yeah, actually, it's actually good you asked that question because yeah. So for me, I'll be looking to sell gold at 19. What's the median? So 1958 and 1940. That's 18. So that's 9. So around 1949. That's where my first filler sell on gold will be. US 30. So let's see, the hourly candle I think just closed. Let's go to the hourly. I think it closed above the 9 EMA. Okay, look at that. Closed above the 9 EMA, closed as a strong bullish hammer candle. This is the candle we just traded today. So for any buys on US 30 today, I don't recommend them, but if you want to buy, look for buys in this hourly bullish high. So between 32,044 and 31,989. I would say wait for the median of that zone, and we can see a golden cross is about to form. So for any buyers on US 30, let me just mark this up for you guys. I would enter at the middle of this zone, which is, I think, just do the math, 32,040 and 32,990. What's that? That's 50, right? That's 50. So ideally half would be 25. So this would be 15. Yeah. So 32,015. The stop, honestly, I would put the stop below this bullish candle. So this is a strong bullish engulfing candle. Looks like there was an order block somewhere here. Yeah, so that's why I would put a buy on US 30 because we did have price closing above the 9 EMA on the hourly, in a very long time. So price hasn't closed above here in the last couple of hours. But again, be careful. I still expect US 30 to reverse to the downside. I think this is a trap for buyers, but just use this trade right here. Other than that, anybody else have any question?
Just one more similar one for Euro USD. Same kind of question there with like the lower low on the 5-minute, and then there's the like could you draw a trend line through that lower low to the higher low, and then with it coming to the red cell area?
Yeah, so I would draw it. So that would be my trend line for EU.
Would that be an opportunity to sell as long as it like on the break of that trend line in the retest?
Yes. Now that's actually what you want, right? In order to actually show that this price, this area is good. Yeah, you're right. That would be another confirmation. But you can see that this zone that we entered in, this is, again, when you're in a trade, the worst thing that can happen is to enter a trade and price goes immediately against you. But right now, price has been playing around break even. So price tapped us in on this candle, dropped, came here, you can see that price is holding. So we know that this is a perfect point of interest. So whether it goes up, whether it goes down, we know that our entry is solid. So right now, this trade is around break even. Yeah, but to answer your question, the best thing we can see here is price to break this trend line, retest the trend line, and then dip all the way back down. And you can see here, EU is not going as high as gold is. So that's what I'm saying. As much as they're correlated with the USD, EU is not a safe haven. Gold is a safe haven. As much as EU is a currency, ideally, Euro is a currency, USD is a currency, gold is a metal, right? Gold is not a currency. So that's why you can see that gold is still going and going. EU ideally should be going and going, but you can see that EU is stuck right now. Yeah, but the perfect thing that can happen right now, break this trend line, retest, and then EU to fall. Any other questions? All right, and then let me know if this mic is not audible enough so that I can get a headset, as much as I don't like headsets. But if the audio is good, then this is perfect. I'll upload this session to YouTube and the Google Workspace, and I'll send you the YouTube links. I just have to figure a couple of editing things out. But other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow for another profitable day. All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya. Thanks.
All right.